Hi, everybody, and welcome to TalentED, where we explore the intersection of education, leadership, and talent. And I'm your host here, Dr. Eric Skansen. Today, we're thrilled to have Susan Shorey with us. Susan is a seasoned parent educator who specializes in meaningful family dialogue and practical research-driven solutions for parents, which is so important. It keeps getting more and more important as time goes on. With degrees in family ed and child psych, she is your go-to expert for navigating some complex world of parenting, and it is so complex. Susan, welcome to TalentED. What can you tell us about yourself, Susan?
Well, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here. My name is Susan Shorey, and I am a licensed parent educator in the state of Minnesota. I also hold an early childhood teaching license, birth to grade 3. My husband and I make our home in Lakeland, Minnesota, and we together have a blended family with 6 sons,
Wow,
1 daughter-in-law. So my passion is to work with families on creating meaningful interactions with their children and with schools.
that is incredible. And I'm just going to keep coming back to this theme around parenting and how important it is. We know that parents set kids up for success for the rest of their life, and those early childhood years are so pivotal in development and making sure that everybody's on the right track. So your work is so important.
Yeah,
Um,
thank you. Parents, we've often said parents are children's first and most important teachers, and
yes.
that really doesn't ever end. So,
Well, let's talk about parent ed. That's where I want to start with this.
yeah.
Um, can you share with us maybe a pivotal moment or experience that led you to specialize in parent ed?
Being a mother, realizing that everything that I had learned about child development had a completely different lens when I became a parent,
Hmm.
recognizing that my own children's temperaments and my temperament didn't always jive, didn't always connect. Um, I've heard it said similar to, I think it's an old Peace Corps slogan, that it's the hardest job you'll ever love. And I've heard that about parenting as well.
Hmm.
It's a beautiful, lovely, difficult, challenging, sometimes frustrating endeavor. And in this information age, we have access to so much information,
Hmm.
but the reality is not all of the information is research driven
True.
or information that we can trust. So for me, I love the education piece, and that's a big part of what I
Hmm.
do. I also facilitate conversation. I create safe spaces for families
Hmm.
to recognize and admit that they might not have the answers. And so that really was what drove me into
Hmm.
it.
Well, and I think it's fair to acknowledge, number one, that there are no perfect parents. As
Right.
much as Facebook tells us that there are perfect parents, they're not. Everybody's got things that they're dealing with as kids continue to grow. And parent ed shouldn't have to stop when kids go to school. It,
No.
it is a lifelong journey, isn't it?
Yeah, and my licensure from the University of Minnesota in parent education is birth through age 18. I like to
Hmm.
say birth through forever, because our parenting relationships with our children just change as they get older. I'm
Right. They just
stepping
evolve.
into that adult world of finally getting to be friends with my kids, and sometimes we try to be friends early on, and
Hmm.
children need our guidance and our direction. And you mentioned social media. I think we've isolated ourselves because now it's nearly impossible to want to admit that you might
Hmm.
be struggling. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
100%. Well, I mean, let's talk a little bit about parent-child relationships. This is one of your areas of expertise. You emphasize the importance of empathy and trust in parent-child relationships. Do you have any practical tips on how to maybe build and maintain these crucial connections as you go forward?
Yeah. I think as I look back on my relationship with my own children and now with my stepsons, it's always about communication. Even if it feels like it's a one-way street for a while where we're doing a lot of the
Right.
talking and they're doing a lot of the walking away, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
It's just maintaining those open lines of communication. I talk really often about being a soft place to land
Mm-hmm.
for your child. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when they're going to run into a struggle or an
Mm-hmm.
issue, whether it's at school or with friends or in other relationships. And so being a place that they feel safe to come. It starts early, but we don't stop reinforcing that with our kids, that safety and that connection and really joy. Being a parent should be joyful.
Should be
And so
joyful.
being able to come back and find that joy in your relationship with your children, to laugh at yourself, to laugh with them, to play together and have fun are all really big pieces. And I think we stop doing it. I think
We
we
do.
stop doing that as they get older and we don't think that that's what they want.
Hmm.
And that's just not true. It's just
They
not
still
true.
want connection. They still
Yes.
want connection, even though
Yeah.
many seem like it. And I will attest to that. I have a 16-year-old who is recently driving, and it sure seems like they don't want the connection, but
Yeah.
every once in a while there's that glimmer of, oh, they still do, want that and crave that.
Yeah. Yeah. For
Uh,
sure. They do.
One of your interests lies in helping families navigate challenging behaviors. And I think we've all seen those unfold, um, whether it's in school or the grocery store or the mall, or maybe not the mall. I'm not sure people still go to the mall, but
Oh, yeah.
public places, the park. We see challenging behaviors. What are some common mistakes that parents make in these situations? And
Oh, it's a great
and maybe
question.
how do they course correct along the way?
Yeah, that's a lot of what I'm doing right now every day is helping families course correct. I think coming off of a global pandemic has thrown us all for a loop. We've started to use screens a whole lot
Hmm.
more than we used to. It started out being a lifeline, right?
Hmm.
When we hit the pandemic and we started Zooming and connecting with people and working that way, and schools did an amazing job of in 2 weeks overturning everything, right?
Hmm.
And turning to screens. And now it's really hard to put that cat back in the bag.
Hmm.
And so I think behaviors are amplified right now, and I'm seeing it everywhere. I'm seeing it in little ones. I'm seeing it in adult learners. I'm seeing it in big kids. I'm hearing school professionals that are saying, "What is going on?" Right? What is going on? So I think it's first of all, getting back to that parent-child relationship and the value of that connection. I
Hmm.
think it's interacting with one another, and families might not want to hear that that means turning off screens,
Right.
parents turning off screens, kids turning off screens, getting families back into schools, connected with professionals in
Hmm.
schools, building that homeschool relationship that I don't know that that slipped. I just think it's changed.
Hmm.
So being present is a big way to manage behaviors, and being a soft place to land, and recognizing that it's years before their brains are fully developed. So we have to look at brain development. We have to, all the way up to 25 years of age, we have to address dysregulated brains
Hmm.
in adults and children, and how we make those two come together in a way that brings regulation and peace and connection.
Well, the insurance companies have it figured out. That's about the time when rates drop, right? And people start making better choices. So we should probably listen a little bit more to the insurance companies out there.
Yeah, it says a lot about your college years, right?
It
About the
sure does.
decisions that may have been made during that
Probably
time
bad
frame.
decisions. We're still
Yeah.
learning. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you've talked this already, but you talk about parenting being a lifelong journey. I mean, even your license is till age 18, but you extended that parenting is really, start to end.
No
Uh,
doubt.
how do those challenges change as children grow into adolescence and then into adults? And do you have advices for parents at different stages?
Yeah. Yes. Yep. Start early and often with connecting. I know it's a broken record, the connection piece, but really focusing and building on that parent-child relationship is
Hmm.
huge. Getting connected to their schools and being involved in their schools. And I would implore schools to be ready for children and families,
Yeah.
to be ready now, because we're seeing so much dysregulation that it's really on the school to be ready for resources. Um, I'm starting to work with some schools on that piece about how do we bring families back together in person? How do
Hmm.
we do that at school? And how do we do it in a way that's meaningful for parents,
Hmm.
right? Um, I think there's a lot of room for parent coaching, for one-on-one opportunities, and for schools to invest in parent sessions to talk about things like, When do you give a cell phone the first time? I mean, is
Mhm.
the cat really out of the bag on that? Or how can we collectively come around, responsible screen use? And friendships are challenging, and
They
youth
are.
sports, like when did that go off the rails? Youth
Hmm.
sports are amazing, and my kids played youth sports and it was beautiful, but it's snowballing, and families are trying to figure out how to manage
Well,
that.
I
And how do
mean,
you manage a schedule that's 6 nights a week? What if
hmm
we don't want to do that, but we want to be involved in things? So, and then driving. I mean, we let 16-year-old brains drive around in a
hmm
motor vehicle. And how do you really gradually launch a child?
hmm
Because we can't take a child that's fully been sheltered and then expect them to do well in the world. We have to do a slow release, right? Of capabilities. And that's why, I mean, the lifelong piece, man, then you have adult kids and you get a whole different slew
yes,
of things. Maybe you have an adult child that's not launching, right? And what do you do? How do you manage that as a family? So there's a lot that I could get into.
yes.
Yeah.
I often think about, you know, we kind of figured it out with a car, right? Well, like we make kids take classes, we make them go through like a probation period. We don't just hand them the keys to the car. So we have to do something different as we go forward. And it's amazing to me that we actually drop parent ed classes, PTOs disappear once kids hit middle school.
Yeah.
They turn into things like booster clubs, which are great, but it's not the same. It's not the
It's
same
not,
involvement.
yeah. It's not parent support and education. And I just had a mom of a 17-year-old reach out to me
Yeah.
and just said, I don't even know where to turn. I'm not sure who to talk to. And eh, that's a crisis. When families
Hmm.
don't feel like they have a place to go, that borders on crisis,
It
because
does.
then we might not be able to make the decisions that we should for our grown or nearly grown, underdeveloped
Right.
brain kids.
Uh,
Yeah.
let's get into this question because I think you prefaced it right away. You have a blended family with 6 grown sons.
Yeah.
How have your personal experiences informed your professional approach, and maybe can you share a valuable anecdote that was brought because of that?
Yeah. Step parenting is a vastly different arena. And it can be really, really beautiful. That's what I,
Hmm.
I would say from my personal experience. I can say that I've gotten these 3 additional children that I didn't realize I would love the way I
Hmm.
do. But my relationship with them is different than it is with my own children. And my husband would say the same thing. He
Hmm.
would he would say that we have to take a little step back to parenting each other's kids because we
Hmm.
really can't, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
We have learned, I think we've done pretty well with not pushing
Hmm.
anybody to like anyone, right? And it's
Hmm.
and so we blended when our kids were a little bit older, so there was some benefits to that
Sure.
too.
A little bit of
Families look,
maturation. Yeah.
yeah,
Sure,
yeah,
maturation
and
helps in that situation.
it does for everybody, including the adults, like
Hmm.
the people that are supposed to be in charge. But we really took it at their pace, and we took it very slowly. And what I realized through that is that families look different.
Yeah, they do.
And so we have to be ready to meet a family right where they're at in the circumstances that they're in.
Hmm.
And look at us. I love a strengths-based approach. What are you doing well? What's working? All right,
Hmm. Shine a
let's
light
take
on
that.
what
And
is right.
yes, yep. And let's build on that. And let's tweak some things if we need to.
Hmm.
Let's let everybody be who they are and be authentic and show up as who
Well,
they are,
you can
right?
tell the authenticity just oozes out of you. So I mean, anybody who would be so lucky to work with you, I imagine gets multiple doses of that, which is really refreshing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Speaking of authenticity, I'm going to switch gears on us here, and we're going to get into a quick lightning round about parenting, either
Okay.
ors. Okay.
Yep. Either
Uh,
ors. I'm ready.
all right. Which one of these is the real MVP of early parenting? Diapers or pull-ups?
Diapers every day of the week, twice on Sunday.
What's the best approach for those that have toddler temper tantrums? Time out or time in?
Oh, time in. Yep. Pull that
Lean
baby
in.
into your lap if they're willing. Yes. They're
Okay.
seeking connection.
This is a loaded question. Does it really make a difference? Organic baby food or good old mashed peas?
It doesn't make a difference in my mind. A baby
Okay.
that is fed with love and
Keep them nourished.
yeah,
Just make sure they
nourished
get food.
emotionally. Yes. Yep. Physically, emotionally, all that.
All right. Last one. Which one's easier to handle? Public meltdown or private tantrum?
Oh, private tantrum for sure, because at least you're in the privacy of your own home.
Yeah.
I watched a mom absolutely handle beautifully a public tantrum recently. It
Yes.
happens. We have to have skills in both
To
arenas.
everybody. To
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah.
Well, Susan, I want to really thank you for joining us today. That's just a small snippet. And of course, if willing and you want to work with Susan, please get in contact with us here at School Pro, or you can contact Susan directly too. That's okay. Um, any final words of wisdom, any final call to action that you want to put out there?
Oh man, invest in your relationships with your children. It goes so fast and you hear
Mhm.
it all the time. Your grandmother said it, your mother said it, everybody says it. It goes so fast
It
and
does.
so but now is the time to set a foundation for a lifelong of family joy. Really truly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, again, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and your experiences with us today, Susan. It has been a pleasure having you and speaking with you. Um, and for
Thanks.
everybody else, oh, go ahead, Susan.
No, I was just going to say thanks for having me and
Oh,
making
yeah,
space
you're
here for me
welcome.
today.
So this is going to wrap up another episode of TalentED. And again, huge thank you to Susan for sharing her insights into the complex, challenging, yet incredibly rewarding world of parenting. Just keep that in mind. It is rewarding. From the importance of empathy and trust to practical tips on navigating those challenging behaviors, um, you got some nuggets today that are going to help you. For those of you that touched by Susan's approach and expertise, the great news, like I said, she's available for booking. So whether you're navigating the toddler years or that tricky terrain of adolescence, Susan's reach is heart-centered, and it's just a click away. So as we sign off, remember that parenting is what it's lifelike. It's all about growing through challenges. And for me, one thing I always like to end with is stay PKS, which is positive, kind, and supportive. And until next time, this is Dr. Eric Skansen signing out from TalentED. Thanks, everybody.